Sports editor Chris Korman here in the press box after the Northwestern game, after Indiana went from leading 28-3 to losing 29-8. Joined.
They didn't have negative points.
Yes. Wow. They might have.
Maybe they should
discovered
have.
ways to not win this game.
Yeah.
He's Dustin Dopirak, our beat writer for the Herald-Times. Anyway, Dustin, just break this one down for me. Where did it go terribly, terribly wrong?
Oh, a lot of places. But there were obviously a couple big calls by Bill Lynch that everyone's going to point to.
Sure.
The 4th and 1 is obviously kind of the biggest thing.
Fourth and 1 at the goal line.
Well, we found out from that. I mean, obviously, if you watched it, you saw it. But Mitchell Evans did not have another option on that play.
He was supposed to throw to Troy Wagner.
He was supposed to roll right and look for Troy Wagner. And Lynch sort of said it worked in practice, I guess. And he reminded us that was the player, but he was hooting and hollering about at practice on Wednesday.
Right.
But I guess it wasn't open today, and then after that, Mitchell just kind of had to run for his life and figure something else out to do. And he ran left, and he actually tripped on Will Maddie, trying to go around the left end and score. And that ended up being a gigantic play.
Right.
Not only because it's not even just that they didn't score it, but if they would have kicked the field goal,
right.
They're up in this game. I mean, obviously things can change, and maybe play
sure.
calls change.
Lynch said he thought they needed the touchdown at that point. He just
right.
thought that this sort of game called for going for the more points.
Right. But obviously that one didn't work, and then of course not having any timeouts at the end.
They had called a timeout 2 plays before that to set up the 3rd down play, which went to Doss short of the goal line. They didn't throw it into the end zone. They also called some other timeouts just sort of randomly, and I asked.
Right. Well, there was the 4th down
right.
later. I think there was the 4th and 3 that turned into. No, that one was completed. That was completed at Matters, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. They did complete that for the timeout, but
Lynch said it was they were just timeouts that he wanted to call because he felt they needed.
He felt like those could have been
the
biggest game,
right.
the biggest plays of the game at the time, and
despite the fact that all week he said that this was going to come down to the last drive.
Right. I think he thought he had opportunities to win it earlier, and thought he would try to preserve those, and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, I just don't see how a college football team needs to call timeout in those situations. They game plan all year. They work on those situations. They should have stuff on their little flip cards ready to go.
Right.
Just seemed like strange timing there. They also used Mitchell Evans on the Wildcat on another short yardage situation, and he ended up getting stuffed. Everybody saw it coming. It was the option to the right. He gets smacked. Really, and this is the comments we got on the live chat, and I've been looking at some of the more popular message boards and on our blog. People commenting now. Coaching staff threw this one away. I don't know if you can really argue with that.
It's hard to not call this a coaching loss. I mean, obviously the players have to get credit for it as well because, especially the secondary at times got shredded up. Today. I mean, there was a couple big plays made by the secondary, obviously 3 picks, but they were able to get a lot of room and a lot of big plays. But that being said, you got to in a lot of ways look this as a coaching loss. I mean, having no timeouts at the end there was nothing they could do to stop the clock from the 7-minute mark on. Northwestern, that was a long time to have the ball in Indiana and not have any hope of stopping.
How many first downs did Northwestern have? 28?
I think 29.
29?
If I'm not mistaken.
That's a lot of first downs.
That's a lot of first downs. Yeah. And there was a lot of opportunity. If they have even one timeout, this game could be different. They could just any thing they could do for a drive. They could have had 2 more plays, at the end of that game.
Right. They did. They didn't end up getting a last shot. They sent Nick Thielen out
for a field goal for 59 yards.
59-yard field goal.
Any sense?
Yeah. Lynch said about that the chances of throwing a Hail Mary were to him worse than trying to kick that field goal. He thought
with the wind
was at his back. You never know what's going to happen. They sent Freeland out. Freeland's kick landed on the W in Northwestern, about 10 yards short or whatever.
Yeah, depending on it's
the angle, the arc, whatever.
Tough to figure out what exactly that means, but it's well short.
What did you make of Lynch's post-game press conference? I mean, Lynch, he's never very.
No, I would say this. I was surprised actually that he didn't come out and take this one himself.
Right.
To be honest, I mean, Lynch he is a stand-up guy, and I'm not going to say that just because he didn't do it this time that he's not. I think that would be too harsh of a criticism, but. I don't know how you can't say that this game would have been different if it had a timeout and if the 4th and 1 would have worked differently.
Right.
So, I'm surprised that he did not come out and say, look, I ended up making what was the wrong call, and my guys kind of suffered for it.
Right.
And that's what I would have usually expected from him. I don't, again, I don't think that changes how I view him overall, but I really expect him to do that. And he came out and he said, it's too big to put it on one play, which is a classic Lynch answer. But in most cases, when he's trying to say, well, it's too big for one play, what he's really doing is defending his players.
Yeah.
And he's usually saying, well, just because he
wasn't
missed
one
a
guy
coverage or wasn't one guy or whatever. And
sure.
I was kind of surprised. I would have thought that he would have come out and took the blame on this one. I was kind of surprised at that. And,
The players came out. I thought it was really interesting, and most of them were at a loss. Ben Chappell said, well, I don't really know. I have to watch film. Didn't really want to say anything about it. Other guys, Mayberry and Fisher were both just kept talking about playing Iowa. We got a great chance to play Iowa next week, and it was sort of like, I get it. You can't dwell on a loss, and what are you going to say about it? It's a devastating loss. It's just Northwestern just came out and really ran over Indiana from actually the second quarter on.
Yeah,
Indiana's first quarter was great. From
there,
there,
28-3, and then from there they just didn't do much. I mean, they couldn't get anything really going offensively. And Northwestern again with the short passes were just picking them apart, but they were also just able to get a couple big ones in there as well. And I guess that's exactly what Northwestern's game plan is.
Right.
They didn't run the ball bad either. I mean, 160 yards on the ground. I mean,
they opened it up by throwing it so well.
Yeah,
and Indiana didn't convert. Indiana got 3 turnovers.
The Austin Thomas pick sets them up at the 23, and that's what turns into the 4th and 1.
Right, they got 0 points out of that. It's just a complete and total meltdown, basically.
Yeah, no, there's nothing short of that, and it's a huge loss now because they, now a bowl game is a really, really slim possibility because they have to beat either Iowa, Wisconsin, or Penn State, and they haven't shown anything to make, and then Purdue,
right?
And they haven't shown anything to make anybody believe they can win.
Right.
Next year.
We've gone from possible bowl game to wither Bill Lynch. What will happen to is this the coaching staff? And today, quite frankly, as a columnist, you look at it and that game performance was not. That's not what a Big Ten coaching staff does.
No, I mean, really, it was interesting because in the second quarter, when it's 28-3, he's
right. You're looking
he's safe. He's beyond safe. And then all of a sudden it's over, and you're back to talking about this again.
Right. We watch them practice a lot, and we saw, like Bill Lynch said, they ran the Wildcat and it worked, and Troy Wagner caught it, and that hasn't been on film, so it would have surprised Northwestern. Mitchell Evans barely throws it, but they've got guys. Ben Chappell can put the ball in his tight spaces. We saw it. He did it with Wagner early in the game. And they got guys. They got big physical wide receivers who can run a slant and cut a corner off and just catch the ball.
Forget even that.
Why not just go at it?
Yeah,
or you're right. They have a running game. They have Willis.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's the one thing we've talked so much about red zone this year. I mean, like, if you really look back, I mean, how many red zone carries has Darius Willis had? I mean, and he showed today. I mean, he had a big one today, a 3-yard score. I mean, like, he can get those yards. But it's been so rare that he's even been in the game for those. I mean, there's been so many options where they go to Evans and whatnot. And I guess the thing is, you say, well, there's 2 running options in the backfield. Well, wouldn't it be better to have a running or a passing option?
Line up and play football.
I'm just really surprised. I mean, they've just relied on it too much when it comes down to the goal line.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously been a valuable gimmick for them for the year, but you
not
have to get 1 yard, and
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the direction you're heading all the time.
Right. All right. Well, we'll have more coverage of this game. Obviously, we'll go write our stories now. I'm sure there's plenty of discussion on the Hoosier Scoop as we speak. You can join in there, and then we'll have our typical coverage all week. Lynch radio show Monday should be interesting. Press conference, and we'll just see where this whole thing goes. It's,
and we got Big Ten basketball
season.
this week.
Big Ten basketball too.
Yep.
Big Ten basketball media day here Thursday. We'll be back in Chicago.
We'll be back.
We're going to leave you with a view from the press box here. It's pretty epic. Thanks for joining us.
It's pretty epic. Hopefully you can see it.
Talk to you later.